Okay, we're cruising right along here. This is module number 3. Good news is it's already module 3, and I hope you're enjoying the content so far. The bad news is this module is pretty heavy, so I want to let you know that there's a lot of content this week. Take your time. Most of it is going to be supporting the task that you have coming up with a causal loop diagram, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. So let's get into what's normal and then some of the learning objectives and the content, and we'll be on our way. One of the things that I want to make sure of is that you are all thinking about all of this work as a way to achieve potential instead of problem solving. Our goal isn't to fix problems, because usually problems tell us what the status quo is. And we're in a world that's moving very, very fast. So in order to um, avoid just fixing things to what we already know works, we need to look at the full potential of the systems. That'll help us with sustainable systems thinking. Absolutely. So keep that word in mind, potential. It's really important. This week's work is very similar to every module. You're going to get used to hearing this. There are videos to watch and articles to read and some resources to take a look at. There's going to be a quiz. And just as a note, when we go through the quiz in the mid-semester, that is going to pull from the questions you've seen, or a mix of them. So keep that in mind. Uh, Also, as normal, post in the discussion forum. Make sure you're following those recommendations about being present in those discussions, and look at the rubric so that you know what's happening across the course. Then the thing that's new is creating a systems diagram. So again, we'll talk about that a little more, and post your reflections. So that's this week's work. Not so much. Our learning in objectives revolve around remaining curious and defining the issues and the sticking points, anything that's challenging you. So we really need to start to describe how systems function. And part of that is recognizing the interdependence of particular components of the systems. And I would also encourage you to see how those systems interact with other systems. Define relationships, especially between the 3 E's, which is economy, ecology, and everyone. So might be a different phrase than you've heard. Most people say triple bottom line, but I like to make sure that the word everyone is in there because it gives it a different tone. So those are the learning objectives. And our content and our context, we want to understand the whole elephant. And hopefully you know this story where blind men were approaching an elephant, and each of them thought that the elephant was an entirely different thing because they only had one piece of the picture. With sustainable systems thinking, you're looking at the full elephant, and you're making sure that everyone working on the problem with you is seeing the same things you are, and those things make a complete whole. So one of those aspects is the real big work in this module, which is a graphic tool called a causal systems loop. There's a video that tells you how to draw it. There are several articles that are optional reading that can help reinforce how to do this causal loop diagram. It's a way to see patterns and the reinforcing and the balancing loops. So a reinforcing loop is when something starts to get better and the response from the other aspect of the system keeps accelerating it, or it starts to get worse and that starts to accelerate the degradation. A balancing loop is when they're in pretty close balance, and the results are maintained at a level that is ideal for the system and for the people affected by that system. The graphic tool helps you to look at time, helps you to see this happens and then this happens and then that happens. And one of the issues with this graphic tool is that it's limited by graphic simplicity. No system is separate from other systems. So you have to keep that in mind, and look at the co-benefits of outside systems. And you have to multi-solve, like I mentioned in the previous module. Success comes when you can move from a problem statement, such and such isn't working, I'm not making enough money, whatever, to a cause statement. I need a more joyful job so I can make more money. Those kind of things. And part of this is, of course, systems thinking. So when you look at patterns, that's a benefit because that broadens your thinking. It's important to use a causal loop diagram in systems thinking, for example, when it's an important issue, it's a chronic issue, it has a known history, and there have been previous failures that have not been remedied by conventional approaches. And the key to all of this, I believe, is to eliminate blame and just find the different perspectives and the truths that exist. This is just one tool to getting toward that understanding, the whole elephant. So, in summary, the clues are simplify and essentialize what is really going on. If this is a system that impacts one community, what is specific about that community that's impacting that system? Try not to broaden this to apply everywhere. It doesn't work. Sustainability is very, very local, very essential to the place and the time and the situation. Avoid blame. So reframe the discussions to get information out instead of saying so and so did that. And focus on the story, the background behind it, the why. Why is this happening? So I've included some reflection questions here. They're also in some of the write up. What is systems thinking? How can we use it to tackle sustainability challenges? And what benefit exists in considering conventional approaches used on the issue in the past? What can be learned from that? And there we go. That's this module. Like I said, it's a pretty heavy one. Take your time, ask questions, make sure you do the things that are due when they're due. We'll get there. Bye.